After the Jedi Council had received a 2,000-year-old distress signal, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano are dispatched to uncover the mystery. Approaching the coordinates, the Jedi are drawn in by a gravitational force and are blinded by a bright white light generated by a monolith on the planet of Mortis. Landing on the planet below, they sense that it is extremely powerful with the Force and are guided to the monastery by Force wielders known as the Ones, where the Father aimed to put Anakin through a series of tests to find out if he was really the Chosen One. Passing the first test of choosing between Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, the Jedi intend to leave the planet, but the dark side wielder known as the Sun had other ideas. The Sun is able to kidnap Ahsoka and corrupt her with the dark side, claiming the Dagger of Mortis to try and kill the Father, thereby breaking the balance of the Force. However, after killing Ahsoka, as she was no longer needed, the daughter steps in to take the attack. As she dies, the daughter uses Anakin to transfer her life force into Ahsoka. But what if Ahsoka had gained the powers of the daughter? How would this affect those outside of Mortis? As you're about to see, the increase in Ahsoka's power could have changed the fate of those across the galaxy. As Anakin felt the daughter's force channel through him, the daughter slumped to the floor, and Ahsoka coughed and spluttered into life. Anakin could sense something different about Ahsoka, and the father declared that Ahsoka had inherited the powers of the daughter. In order to prevent the Sun from wreaking havoc across the galaxy, the father and Ahsoka enhanced their speed and caught up with the Sun. As the Sun battled his father in a forced battle, the father was weakening from his old age, but Ahsoka used the dagger to stab the Sun and prevent the darkness spreading over the galaxy. The father was wary of letting Ahsoka out of the planet, as if her powers were not controlled, they could cause chaos. But as Anakin had proven himself to be the Chosen One, Ahsoka had to stay by his side, serving as a guardian. Entering their shuttle, the planet of Mortis remained, with the father in control, and they rendezvous back with Captain Rex. Flying back to the Jedi Temple, Ahsoka is worried about her new powers, and along with Anakin, go to consult Grandmaster Yoda. The Grandmaster shares their concerns, and decides to personally train Ahsoka on controlling her new powers. The start to her training is not without incident, as with one of her bursts of power, she accidentally pushed a passing Master Windu into a fallen pillar, but she is slowly beginning to progress, until they receive a transmission from the separatist planet of Lola Seu. The hologram of Count Dooku appeared, and the Sith apprentice was smirking at Yoda, having captured Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, alongside Master Evan Peel. In return for their lives, the Count of Sereno asked the Jedi and the Republic to concede the Nexus route coordinates, and the Council are left to deliberate on the deal. Against the wishes of the rest of the Council, Yoda nominates himself to lead the second rescue, alongside Plo Koon, Ahsoka Tano, and some of the remaining clones. Whilst the Council knew of Yoda's abilities, it seemed pointless to bring a Padawan like Ahsoka, but Yoda and Plo Koon knew better. Taking Plo Koon's Venator-class Star Destroyer to the Outer Rim, the airspace outside of Lola Seu was barren, compared to the first rescue attempt, almost as if Dooku had prepared for their arrival. Nonetheless, the Jedi choose to breach the atmosphere, descending in low-altitude assault gunships to the surface below. Ahsoka leapt to one of the cliffs opposite of the fearsome citadel itself, and put her new powers to the test, lifting the entire roof off of the prison complex with ease, before depositing it in the lava below. As the alarms began to ring through the area, Ahsoka transformed into a griffin and hovered over the prison, looking for the prisoners. Floating onto the highest floor, she ignited her lightsabers and sliced down the BX series commando droids, overcoming their magnetized footplates, as well as using the Force to disable any placed electromines. Yoda, Plo Koon and the other clones entered from another angle, as they focused on releasing the prisoners. Flying back to Plo Koon's cruiser, Ahsoka is able to elegantly escape in the final departing gunship, feeling exhausted from her sustained use of her new Force abilities. Aboard the cruiser, Ahsoka is placed under the care of the medical droids, as well as the stationed healers, whilst the Jedi discuss what to do with the two halves of the Nexus route coordinates. Back inside the remains of the Citadel, Prison Warden Ozzy Sobek had somehow escaped the chaos, but his joy was short-lived, as Darth Sidious and Count Dooku looked scathingly at him from projections across the galaxy. Dooku demanded to know what had happened to the Jedi, and how they could have escaped the supposed impregnable fortress. So Sobek recounted that he had seen the roof being shaken from its foundations, as well as a mysterious flying animal saving the Jedi, whilst his neck began to constrict from the force choke of Sidious. Dropping him to the floor, the two Sith needed to know more about the creature, and perhaps the Jedi were not what they seemed. That is it for part 1 of What If Ahsoka had gained the powers of the daughter. If you'd like to see a part 2 soon, please like this video, turn on that notification bell, click that subscribe button on this channel, and on my other channel What If Films. And as always, leave a comment on what if you'd all like to see next, and how I can improve my videos. Thank you all very much for watching, and see you next time.